Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Day Football Show. I'm your host, Jackson Kellogg. Today we'll be getting into Boston Tea Party Podcast, episode number 10. And with that, topics of the day include predictions and analysis for Week 7 against the San Francisco 49ers, a Patriots workout that happened, or that the Patriots are planning on, and the players that are involved, and as always, transactions from the past week. So, Week 7 of the NFL season, Patriots coming off of a rough loss at home to the Denver Broncos. This week is going to look to be a bounce-back week for them. Last week's predictions didn't really represent what I would have thought had I realized that the Patriots only practiced once in that 2-week span between when they played the Chiefs and when they played the Broncos. So they counted the first week as a bye because the rescheduled season, and then the next week was kind of like a normal week of practice, as you would say for any other team. But the issue is that the Patriots kept having cases pop up. So first it was Cam Newton, so they were out for a couple days and they played the Chiefs games. Then Stephon Gilmore popped positive, so they were out of the facility for a little bit. Then Byron Cowart popped positive, and then someone else that I forget who now, I think, that backup center, James Ferentz, tested positive. So they've just been in and out of the facility because with COVID, there's an incubation period to where, or they're finding out that you can get it but have it not show up for up to 14 days or something like that. So you're seeing it now where, with the Patriots, a lot of these players probably did get COVID, like during one of the practices, and then it didn't pop up until a while later, so it spread throughout the facility. So they were in and out of training, and they only had one official day of practice with Cam there. I think it was they had a practice and a walkthrough, and I don't think Cam was at the walkthrough that they had. So rough go for the Patriots going into the Broncos game, and it showed with the inconsistency on offense. So now, can Cam Newton bounce back this week from that brutal defeat? The offense looked just like straight garbage in that game. The receivers couldn't do anything. Cam didn't look like his normal self, and they couldn't get the running game going. So it was bad on all fronts. Granted, the Patriots were playing with an offensive line that consisted of not just 2 guards, but 5 guards starting in all different spots. So the offensive line going into the game, it was, I think Justin Herron was starting at left tackle. Michael Onu was, so mind you, Justin Herron is a rookie offensive tackle, 7th round pick. 6th round pick who's been playing a bit, Michael Onu, was starting at left guard. Joe Thuney was pushed to center. Oh no, I'm sorry, Herron didn't start. This is where it gets even crazier. Or no, I'm sorry. So here's what the line really looked like. It was Onu at left tackle. Isaiah Wynn was pushed to left guard. Joe Thuney was pushed from left guard to center. Then Shaq Mason was out, so they had to play Hjalti Froholt there, or Justin Herron. Then they had Corey Cunningham starting at right tackle. Then he got hurt, so they had to push someone to right tackle, and Hjalti Froholt came in at right guard. It was just a whole mess. Guards were playing center and tackles. It was just a straight mess on that offensive line. And then the receivers couldn't do anything. That last 4th and 10 with Cam Newton, N'Keal Harry, that, as much as people are pointing fingers, that was both of their faults. N'Keal Harry ran the wrong route, and even with that, if Harry ran the right route, he tried to adjust back, and Cam Newton threw it off target. So both messes up for both of them. But I mean, it shows with the wide receivers that they're not playing well. The only time one of them was good was Edelman in that Week 2 matchup against Seattle, where he had like 10 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. I think it was a touchdown. I don't know if he had a touchdown. But I mean, if you look back, part of that was because they were trying to play Jamal Adams on Edelman, and I don't think that worked out very well for them. But even then, the Patriots wide receivers have done absolutely nothing, which is why I'm seeing a lot of different talks for Patriots trading for wide receivers like Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. The one being thrown around the most right now is A.J. Green. Whereas, in my opinion, I'd rather go... If the wide receivers don't play well against the San Francisco secondary that has their 2 starting safeties out in Jimmy Ward and Jaquie Tart, Richard Sherman is out, so they're going with Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley at their 2 starting corners. If the Patriots wide receivers cannot get anything going against this defense, then you start to worry, and if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm making another deadline trade. But this time, I'm not making it for spending a second-round pick on a aging veteran wide receiver in Mohamed Sanu. That was an atrocious move. If you look at the value, a lot of times... So the Patriots traded for Mohamed Sanu what the Vikings traded for Yannick Ngakoue. Put that into perspective. So not only was Mohamed Sanu at least, I think, 5 years older, at a different position, way less skilled at said position, just an atrocious trade. Granted, there's the notion where the Patriots have to pay the Patriot tax for being the Patriots in trades, where they have to give up more than a normal team should because, no one really wants to give a player to the Patriots. But, I mean, you look at it as a second-round pick, the receivers that they could have taken in this draft with that second-round pick, even they traded back with their first-rounder because they didn't have the second-round pick. But even say they do still trade back from that first-round pick, you had players like T. Higgins and Michael Pittman were gone, but you could still get Denzel Mims was available. Chase Claypool was available. There were a couple others, like big names that I'm forgetting. But you look at it and you go, man, why did they pass up on going on all these receivers? Even with that first-round pick, Ayuk was available. If they still had that second-rounder, they could have traded up to get someone like Jefferson, Lamb, even maybe Jerry Jeudy. But no, they traded the second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu, and it didn't work out. So now this time around, I think they should spend a late-round pick on someone like, say, John Ross, who's requested a trade from the Bengals. I think that would be a decent idea. I might take a poke at Christian Kirk from the Cardinals for maybe, say, a 4th or 5th round pick. Curtis Samuel from the Panthers for like a 5th, 6th round pick. And then if you really want to go for like a bigger trade, maybe Will Fuller for like a 3rd or 4th round pick from the Texans. Possibly Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, or even Juju Smith-Schuster from the Steelers. Because those 4 that I just mentioned are all free agents this offseason. The one who I didn't mention who's a free agent that I think the Patriots could pursue is Chris Godwin, but there's no way the Bucs are trading him right now. His availability will depend on AB's future with that team, who the Buccaneers just signed, which is going to be interesting. I did pull the trigger and pick him up in fantasy, though. That was a smart move, in my opinion, by me. If you didn't make that move a couple days ago, you better be congratulating the person who did, because that was a very quick, spontaneous move by them. That could very low risk, super high reward, depending on who they drop from. I dropped Dolphins defense, and I already have Buccaneers defense, so I'm all set. But getting back on topic here, I think the second round pick definitely should not be spent. The most the Patriots should put towards a trade deadline trade this year is a 3rd round pick. You're not going to get someone like Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't think, with that pick. I think that would take like a 1st, 2nd round pick because of his talent level. Same with Kenny Golladay. Maybe you get Allen Robinson for a 3rd, but I think that'd take a 2nd. And Will Fuller, I think, would be the easiest to get for a 3rd round pick. But I mean, the other players that I mentioned, John Ross, Curtis Samuel, and Christian Kirk, those should be like 4th round picks or later even. Like Curtis Samuel and John Ross should be like 6th round picks. So yeah, I think if the Patriots don't, between Edelman and Harry, they need to step up in this game and show that, one, Edelman is regressing clearly, but he's still got to show that he's got stuff left in the bag, and Harry needs to develop into a wide receiver 1, or at least a complementary wide receiver 2, or this receiving core is going to be screwed. So now, flipping to separate sides of the ball now. The Patriots defense played excellent against the Denver Broncos last week. They held them to 6 field goals, no touchdowns, and they had to have tons of different drives. And they did not allow a single touchdown. There was a great performance by the Patriots defense. They made the plays when they had to. They made 2 key interceptions that almost led to a Patriots comeback. Great play by them. The only thing that looked shaky, and it has looked shaky for the Patriots over the last year, is the Patriots' run defense. They do not have a stable run defense. Their defensive line isn't built to stop the run. They don't have those big guys on the center. In the trenches, they've got a team filled of linebacking edge rushers, and their 2 center guys are Lawrence Guy and Adam Butler, who they're not necessarily run stoppers, they're pass rushers. So the Patriots don't have bona fide run stoppers on that defensive line. So that's been their issue this whole season. They let Phillip Lindsay rush for over 100 yards on them this last week. And in most of the games so far this season, Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran over them. Chris Carson ran over them. The Dolphins didn't do so much against them in week 1. Josh Jacobs was starting to do pretty well against the Patriots. Like, that's been their issue defensively all year, and it was even showing the previous year as well. So I think in this game, going against a 49ers team that is known for their rushing attack, that's what Kyle Shanahan does. He does all these different rushing schemes with his tandem of running backs, which he's going to be without a couple in Raheem Mostert, and I don't think Tevin Coleman's playing either. So he's going to have Jerick McKinnon, and then if the Patriots, what they should do is play straight up man-to-man. I'm sick of watching the Patriots go with zone coverages and get just absolutely trashed. The Patriots are not a zone team. Get Jason McCourty off the field, put J.C. Jackson in, put Stephon Gilmore one-on-one with George Kittle, throw Jonathan Jones on Brandon Ayuk, and J.C. Jackson on Deebo Samuel. That's how you win the game tomorrow. That's how you're going to beat this 49ers team. And you stack the other 8 players in the box, because you're going to have to, whether they choose to run inside, you get that front. They should go 4-4-3. 3 corners, and those 2 safeties playing, or in that 4 linebackers, 2 of those being safeties, and Adrian Phillips and Kyle Duggar. That's how you're going to beat this 49ers team. You make Jimmy Garoppolo have to beat your players one-on-one. And I think that would be so much more successful, because the 49ers, they do a lot of movement pre-snap, even after snap, like movements everywhere. So if you go straight up man-to-man, 8 in the box, you can set up players that can push inside and keep contains on the outside to stop the jet sweeps, the end arounds, the flea flickers, like any little trick plays they want to do behind the line of scrimmage, it can be stopped with an 8-man front. And I think that's what the Patriots should do to stop this 49ers offense. It would be very successful if executed correctly, because that's what the Patriots have. They have pass rushers. So if you use them as pass rushers, then, like, if you're back 4, so if you want a successful line to work, here's what you do. You throw Adam Butler and Lawrence Guy as the 2 D tackles like normal. So John Simon, Dietrich Wides on both ends. In your back 4, you throw Winovich as an edge rusher, as like a 5-man rush. Then you've got Bentley, Phillips, and Duggar back there. Rotate in Calhoun, Jennings, and Uche to get some rotation in there. But that's the front you should have. And I think that if executed correctly, that front can perform well against these rushing attacks that are just killing the Patriots team as a whole. So my predictions for this game is a 24-16 Patriots victory. I think the offense gets it going a little bit better, and I think the defense is going to bail this team out again and hold the 49ers to minimal points. So I think a New England wide receiver will get 100 yards as well as a touchdown in this game. I'm going to go with it being Damiere Byrd as the breakout wide receiver this game for the Patriots. I think Edelman's going to be watched over the middle by the linebackers. They're going to throw Jason Verrett on N'Keal Harry, and it's going to be up to Damiere Byrd to get some deep plays. I'm looking for maybe like a 50-yard reception by Damiere Byrd for possibly a touchdown. And I think my last prediction is that the 49ers are going to get held to 200 total offensive yards by this Patriots front. I think it could be even less if they ran the defense that I just talked about, but they're probably going to go with like their normal 4-1-6 zone contain, whatever you want to call it, but it hasn't been working to the extent that it should if they ran straight up man-to-man coverage like the Patriots defense is built to do. So there were 5 different players that the Patriots brought in for a workout. Fullback Roosevelt Nix, who's a former Steeler and Pro Bowler in 2017. He played there for 5 seasons. Was on the Colts roster going into training camp, was released before the season started. 2 offensive linemen in Cordell Iwuagwu, I have no idea how to pronounce that, undrafted out of TCU, as well as Jordan Steckler, who was undrafted out of Northern Illinois. Linebacker David Reese, undrafted out of Florida, as well as wide receiver Damian Willis, who's a former Bengal. He played there last year in 10 games, recorded 9 receptions for 82 yards. So nothing huge to take out of this. This is just Bill Belichick doing his due diligence, getting some players that in a dire need of an emergency, if he needs to call up and grab, they can just show up and he knows what he's going to get in them from a workout. So now getting into weekly transactions to finish this off, Jermaine Illuminor got injured against the Broncos last week and has been placed on injured reserve. Looking at the practice squad movement, the Patriots released wide receiver Devin Ross from the practice squad and re-signed wide receiver Mason Kinsey. So Devin Ross went through training camp. He looked promising, then was released but signed back onto the practice squad. Mason Kinsey was brought on after training camp to the practice squad, but then released shortly after, but then was just brought back. So now looking at some more injured reserve movement, 3 players been taken off of injured reserve. Linebacker Josh Uche, center David Andrews, and defensive tackle Bo Allen were all taken off IR. David Andrews was the only official one taken off injured reserve, but Josh Uche and Bo Allen were both seen at practice. So both of those moves will be announced probably before the game happens tomorrow. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe if you aren't already. Leave a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Hope you guys all have a great football Sunday. Be sure to root for those Patriots tomorrow. I sure will be repping my Devin McCourty jersey. It's my lucky jersey so far this season. If you all have a lucky jersey, be sure to leave it in the comments. Be fun discussion to talk about different jerseys that you guys might have, as I have a plethora of them. I think I'm at 6 right now. Some are a bit small from having them as a kid and growing out of them, but I still hold on to them. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and let's go Patriots.